The house with the blue porch light. You ever walk past a house that just feels wrong? Not haunted movie wrong. More like a quiet, polite kind of wrong. The kind that watches you back. That's how I felt about the house on Merrimack Street. The one with the blue porch light. I used to pass it every night, walking home from my late shift at the gas station. Always the same. Light glowing soft and cold, like a neon bruise against the dark. The curtains never moved. No one ever came in or out, but the light stayed on every night for years. People in town said old Mrs. Denning lived there, kind lady once, till her son vanished one Halloween. They said she left the porch light on so he could find his way home. Cute story, heartwarming even. Until the night I saw someone standing there. It was late, close to 2 a.m. The street was empty, the kind of silence where even your footsteps feel too loud. And there he was, a boy, barefoot, dripping wet though it hadn't rained in weeks. His head was tilted down, face shadowed. I stopped walking. He didn't move. The blue light washed over him like a veil. "Hey, you okay, kid?" I called out. He raised his head, slow as if his neck hurt. His eyes, Christ, his eyes were pale, clouded over, like milk swirling in water. Then, as I stood frozen, the porch light flickered once, twice, and when it steadied again, the boy was gone. Just gone. I told myself I was tired, that it was the glare, or maybe my brain playing tricks after too many graveyard shifts. But the next night when I passed the house again, the light wasn't blue anymore. It was red, and that's when everything started to unravel. I froze. The sound wasn't coming from inside the house, it was coming from right beside me, like the words had slipped out of the shadows themselves. I turned, scanning the yard. No one. Just that eerie blue wash stretching over the dead grass, over the cracked walkway leading up to the porch. I felt the air tighten, like the whole night was holding its breath. "Who's there?" I said. My voice cracked a little, which pissed me off because fear has a way of making you sound 12 again. Silence. Then, just when I started backing away, something scraped against the porch floorboards. Slow, deliberate, like bare feet dragging. I didn't wait to see more. I ran. By the time I got home, I was sweating through my jacket even though it was October cold. I locked the door, pulled the blinds, and tried to convince myself I'd imagined it all. But at 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. No number, just a single message. "Can you tell her I'm home?" I didn't sleep after that. The next day, I tried to act normal at work, but I couldn't stop glancing at the gas station window, half expecting that pale-eyed boy to be standing under the fluorescent light, staring back at me. By the third night, curiosity got the better of me. Or maybe it was guilt. I told myself I'd go by the house just to prove it wasn't real. But when I turned onto Merrimack Street, everything looked wrong. The houses were darker than usual. Even the moon seemed dimmer, like it didn't want to shine there. And that blue light, it was gone again. In its place, the porch glowed red. Deep, pulsing red, like the color of a warning light before something breaks. The front door was wide open now, and there was someone, standing inside the hallway. Small, still dripping wet. Then from deeper in the house, I heard a woman's voice call out, cracked with age and desperation. "Tommy, is that you?" That's when I realized Mrs. Denning had been dead for 3 years, and the boy on the porch wasn't waiting for her to find him. He was waiting for someone to take his place. Her voice wasn't just sound, it vibrated through the air, through my bones. The walls seemed to breathe with her words, each one carrying a faint electric buzz, like the light outside had crawled in with me. I tried to back away, but the floorboards stretched, literally stretched, like I was moving in slow motion. My breath hitched. Every instinct screamed to look away, but I couldn't. Mrs. Denning smiled, not kindly, not sadly, just hollow. "The light calls to the lonely," she said. "It always does." Behind her, the boy stood in the hallway, his eyes wide and pleading now, the wet dripping from his hands pooling into something black. It wasn't water. It smelled like iron and rot. "Tell her I'm home," he said again, but this time his voice was mine. The photographs on the wall began to shift, faces melting, reforming. My own picture flickered into the frame, right between the boy and the year 2025. The caption below it read, "The one who answered." No. I backed into the door, but the handle was gone. The doorway was gone. The world was gone, replaced by that pulsating blue light that felt alive, like it was breathing me in. Mrs. Denning took a step closer, her eyes bright with something unnatural. "He found his way home," she whispered. "Now you can rest." I felt the air thin, cold crawling down my throat. My reflection in the window wasn't moving like me anymore. It smiled when I didn't. "Please," I gasped. I just wanted to help. The boy reached for me. His hand passed right through my chest, and everything stopped. The hum vanished. The house fell silent. Outside, somewhere far away, I heard the sound of footsteps. Someone walking down Merrimack Street. A new voice whispering, "You ever walk past a house that just feels wrong?" And through the window, I saw the porch light change color again. Not blue, not red, white. The kind of light you leave on for someone who's never coming home. I froze there, half in the streetlight's glow, half in the dark, heart pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. The rational part of me, what was left of it, said it was a reflection, just some trick of glass and moonlight. But the rest of me knew better. The next morning, the town was buzzing. Old stories were crawling out of people like they'd been waiting years to be told. Folks swore they'd seen the light flicker that same night, brighter than it had ever been, then vanish. A few said they heard voices, a woman calling a name, a boy answering back. But everyone laughed it off once the sun rose. That's what people do with fear in small towns. They bury it under daylight. I tried to move on. I really did. I picked up extra shifts. I told myself it was over, that maybe the house had just wanted to be seen one last time before letting go. But then strange things started happening. Every night when I locked up the gas station, I'd catch that same hum again. Faint, electric, almost like static whispering my name. And when I walked home, I'd find wet footprints on the sidewalk. Small ones. Barefoot. Always leading toward Merrimack Street. I stopped sleeping. I started drinking coffee until my hands shook. But the more I tried to ignore it, the louder it got. That quiet humming inside the silence. Like the light was still out there, searching for someone new to answer. Last night, I finally gave in. I walked by the house again. The window upstairs was dark this time, but my reflection in it wasn't. It stood still while I moved. Then it smiled. I stumbled back, nearly tripping into the street, and when I looked again, nothing, just the empty window. But as I turned to leave, I noticed something lying on the sidewalk. A single, tiny light bulb, cold, cracked, and faintly glowing blue. I picked it up, and for a heartbeat, I could have sworn I heard her voice again. Soft, distant, almost kind. "Don't leave the light off. He still needs to find his way home." So I didn't. I screwed that bulb into the lamp by my door. And now, every night, my porch glows blue too. But it doesn't matter anymore, because now, I don't have to. Every night around 2 a.m., the air changes. The room goes cold in that deep, bone-sinking way, like winter just slipped in through a locked window. And then it comes, that low hum, the same one I heard on Merrimack Street. It seeps into the walls, into the floorboards, into me. I've stopped fighting it. Some nights I even talk back. "I told her," I whisper into the dark. "I told her you're home." And for a second, everything goes still, peaceful. Then I catch my reflection in the window, eyes pale, cloudy like milk and water, and I know the truth. I didn't walk away from that house. I never really left it. The blue porch light isn't just a beacon anymore. It's a door. And I think it opens both ways. Last night, I passed by the gas station on my way home. There was a new kid mopping the floor, looking tired, bored, exactly how I used to look. When he caught my reflection in the glass, he froze. I saw him glance outside, and for a brief, perfect moment, the faint blue glow danced across his face. That's when I realized the lights found someone new to call. So if you ever find yourself walking home late and you see a lonely little house with a blue porch light glowing soft in the dark, don't stop. Don't look too long. And for God's sake, don't answer if you hear a voice ask, "Can you tell her I'm home?" Because once you do, you're part of it, just like me. If this story pulled you in, if you felt that shiver crawl up your spine, make sure to like this video to help more listeners find it. It really supports the channel and helps it grow. Subscribe if you enjoy dark tales told in this style. There's a new story waiting for you every single day. And if you know someone who loves a good scare before bed, share this video with them. You might just keep them up tonight. Thank you for watching and listening. There's another story waiting for you on the screen right now. Click it, and I'll see you back tomorrow under the blue light. Sweet Tooth. You ever notice how small towns always have that one legend nobody really talks about? Just whispers about between cigarette drags at the diner? Well, in Hollow Creek, that legend was about a man called Sweet Tooth Sam. Now, I don't believe in ghost stories. Never have. I'm a mail carrier, been one for 16 years, and I've walked every dirt road and cracked sidewalk in this town. If something strange was out there, I'd have seen it. Or at least, I thought I would have. It started one October evening, the kind of evening where the sun sinks too early and the air smells like rust and chimney smoke. My mailbag was light, my boots heavy. Halloween was only a few days away, and every porch in Hollow Creek was cluttered with pumpkins, some smiling, some rotting. That's when I saw it. A small paper bag sitting perfectly in the center of a porch, like someone had placed it there with care. The bag was folded twice at the top, sealed with red wax stamped into a crude tooth shape. In black ink, written in perfect cursive, were the words "for you." No address, no sender, just those two words, like it knew I'd find it. I looked around. The street was empty, the wind still. Even the crickets seemed to have called it a night. I should have left it. God knows I should have left it. But curiosity, that sly little bastard, whispered, "Just take a peek." When I leaned closer, I smelled it, sweet, thick, and burnt, like caramel left too long on the stove. And underneath that sweetness, something sour, something alive. I remember thinking, who leaves candy on a porch with my name on it? That's how it began, the night Sweet Tooth Sam found me. I stood there staring at that message, "Feed them," as the letters slowly dripped down the mirror like melting sugar. My first thought, some prank. Kids, maybe. But my door was locked, every window shut. I lived alone. I wiped the glass clean and splashed cold water on my face. My reflection looked wrong. My skin had taken on a faint gray tone, my eyes dull and sunken like I hadn't slept in days. I tried to laugh again, but it came out cracked and dry, like I'd swallowed dust. The smell was stronger now, sweet and rotten, like candy left in a dead child's pocket. It clung to my clothes, to my hair. Even when I showered, it lingered under my nails. I couldn't escape it. The next morning, I went about my route, pretending everything was fine. But Hollow Creek felt different. The streets were too quiet. The wind carried a low hum, almost like a whisper, and everyone seemed to look at me just a second too long, like they knew. At one house, the old Miller place, I found another bag on the porch. Same wax seal, same smell. But this one wasn't addressed to me. It had the name Eli. That's the kid who lived there. 10 years old, gap-toothed grin, always waiting for me with a wave. I didn't deliver it. I shoved the bag in my mail satchel and kept walking. That night, I dreamt I was standing in a field of sugarcane, the stalks black and dripping with tar. Something moved between them, tall, thin, with teeth that clicked like candy brittle. It whispered, "You took what was mine." When I woke up, my hands were sticky. The bed smelled like syrup. And sitting on my nightstand was another note, written on candy wrapper paper. 3 pieces for 3 souls. I didn't know what that meant until Eli's mother came crying my door the next day, asking if I'd seen her son. Said he'd gone missing overnight. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I understood. Sweet Tooth Sam wasn't haunting Hollow Creek. He was hungry, and somehow I'd fed him the first bite. He rose from that corner like a marionette tugged by invisible strings, slow, deliberate, every bone creaking like candy snapping between teeth. The air around him shimmered with heat, that same burnt sugar scent now so thick I could taste it. Sweet Tooth Sam. He wasn't a ghost, not a legend, not some story whispered at the diner. He was real, too real, and he'd been waiting for me to come home. "You ate what was mine," he rasped, voice wet and grinding, as though his throat was filled with syrup. "Now you'll make more." I backed away, kicking through candy wrappers that crackled like brittle bones. "I don't know what you want," I choked out, but I did. God help me, I did. Everywhere I looked, I saw faces, faces pressed into the candy piles, half melted, mouths open in silent screams. Eyes made of sugar glass stared up at me. Eli's was among them, the third piece, the third soul. My stomach twisted. I could feel something inside me crawling, gnawing. My gums throbbed. My teeth ached like they were growing sharper. Sam watched, smiling that impossible grin, his breath sweet enough to make me gag. He stepped closer, lifted one bony hand, and pressed it against my chest. It burned through my shirt, through my skin. I felt caramel bubbling in my veins, my heart pounding like a spoon hitting a pot. "Feed them," he whispered again, "or I'll finish the batch myself." And suddenly, I understood the deal. The curse wasn't about punishment. It was production. Someone had to keep making the candy. Someone had to keep feeding Hollow Creek. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, a jagged shard of sugar glass, and drove it into his neck. It cracked, but no blood came out, only syrup, thick, golden, and steaming. He laughed, high and sharp, like tinfoil tearing. Then he lunged. I remember the struggle, the sticky pull of his hands, the way his teeth clamped down on my shoulder. I remember the smell of my own burning skin, and then silence. The house fell still. The candy wrappers stopped rustling. When I opened my eyes, he was gone. But in the reflection of the shattered window, my mouth was full of perfect, polished teeth, and they were smiling. I tried to fight it at first, burned the bags, buried them, even left town once, drove until the gaslight came on and the cornfields turned to nothing but mist. But no matter how far I went, the smell found me, that sickly sweetness, that burnt sugar breath whispering in my ear. Feed them. So I came back to Hollow Creek, my hollow little home, my hollow little life. Now I wear gloves on my route. Keeps the sugar from sticking to my skin. People think I'm just tired, that the job's worn me down. But the truth is, I can taste them. Every name, every address, they melt on my tongue before I even knock. The first time I delivered one of those bags, it was to Mrs. Haskins, the old woman who'd warned me. I told myself I didn't have a choice, that it was him, Sweet Tooth Sam, controlling my hands, guiding my steps. She took the bag with that sweet old smile of hers, said, "Thank you, dear." The next day, the police were at her house. Heart failure, they said. But I know better. Each time I deliver one, the hunger fades. Just for a while. My gums stop bleeding. The itching under my skin quiets down, but then it builds again, like pressure in a pipe ready to burst. I see him sometimes, in reflections, in the glass of a passing car, in the glossy eyes of a porcelain doll on someone's porch. Sweet Tooth Sam standing behind me, grinning like a proud father. Every delivery is a lesson. Every death, a recipe perfected. In the town, Hollow Creek's quieter now. Too quiet. Houses with the porch lights turned off. Curtains drawn. No one trick-or-treats anymore. No one dares, but they still get their mail, because the mailman always delivers. And every time I drop one of those little paper bags on a porch, I whisper an apology, just under my breath, just enough to keep the sweetness from turning bitter. "I'm sorry," I say, but my reflection always answers for me, with a grin that's not mine. "Don't be. They're hungry too." I tell myself I'm still me, that somewhere under the sugar and the rot, the man who used to whistle on his morning route is still in there. But every night, that lie gets a little harder to swallow. My reflection doesn't blink anymore. My teeth ache if I don't feed the craving. My tongue tastes like caramel and copper. Sometimes I see the faces of the ones I've delivered to. They visit me in dreams, their mouths sealed shut with toffee, their eyes wide with something that looks a lot like forgiveness or hunger. I can't tell which anymore. And Hollow Creek keeps pretending. They hang wreaths, mow their lawns, gossip about who's next to move away, but they never ask why the air always smells faintly of burnt sugar. They never question the disappearances, because people like believing monsters are stories. They can live with ghosts, but not with mailmen who still make their rounds after dark. The other night, I stood on that same porch where it all began. The yellow house, the flickering light. I could almost see my old self there, staring down at that first little bag, thinking it was just candy. I almost laughed. Almost. Because now I'm the one who seals them. Perfect fold. Red wax tooth, neat cursive, for you. It's funny, isn't it? How one bite can change everything. People still whisper about Sweet Tooth Sam, but no one ever wonders where the candy comes from. They think legends just linger, but they're made, one piece at a time. So if you ever wake up to the smell of caramel in the cold October air, or find a paper bag on your porch, sealed with red wax, stamped with a tooth, do yourself a favor. Don't open it, because the craving never leaves. And when the clock hits 3:11 a.m. and you hear that soft knock on your door, that'll be me. If you enjoyed tonight's story and want more haunting tales like this one, make sure to like this video. It helps the channel grow and reach others who love a good scare. Subscribe for daily storytelling and share this video with someone who thinks they don't believe in legends. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Dead End Lane. I knew that taking a shortcut home was a mistake the second I saw the sign, Dead End Lane. The orange paint was faded, peeling like scabs on an old wound, and the post leaned slightly, as if even the sign itself was too tired to stand straight. I hesitated for a moment, that small rational voice in my head warning me to turn back, but curiosity, my old companion, whispered louder. I turned the wheel. The lane stretched ahead like a gray ribbon swallowed by fog. Autumn had already begun its slow decay. Leaves clung to the cracked asphalt, trembling, whispering secrets to one another. Streetlights flickered sporadically, their bulbs coughing against the encroaching darkness. My car's engine hummed, steady, comforting, but even that sound seemed distant here, swallowed by the damp hush of the town. I passed shuttered houses, their paint peeled like paper in a rainstorm, and every so often, a window stared back at me like an eye without a soul. Some doors were slightly ajar, and for a fraction of a second, I imagined shadowy figures slipping in and out, their movements just beyond perception. One porch light swayed slowly, as though someone or something was playing a private game with gravity. I told myself it was imagination, but the hairs on my neck refused to lie. I'd always had a restless curiosity, the sort that drags you toward danger while your common sense scrambles behind trying to catch up. Friends called it reckless. I called it adventure. Maybe it was both. What I didn't tell them, and what I hadn't admitted to myself, was that I was terrified of being stuck forever in a life of predictable routines, of endless gray office walls and humdrum evenings. That fear made me chase unknowns, no matter how small the warning signs. And here on Dead End Lane, I felt the first prickles of something I couldn't name, an awareness that this was no ordinary shortcut. Something waited for me, just beyond the reach of the fog, and it was patient, too patient. I slammed the brakes when I saw it, a shadow at the very end of Dead End Lane. It didn't move like a person, too precise, too deliberate. My pulse jumped. Then my car shuddered once, twice, and died. Just like that, the engine went silent, the comforting hum gone, leaving me with the only sound, the whisper of the wind or something else. I fumbled with the ignition, swearing under my breath. Nothing. My phone lit up with that cruel little icon. No signal. Great, perfect. Just me, the fog, and whatever waited ahead. I tried to convince myself it was my mind playing tricks, the autumn shadows stretching into monstrous shapes. But then I heard it, a faint whisper. My name. Not carried on the wind, but pulled straight from my chest, curling around my ribs like smoke. The shadows began to shift, shapes forming from darkness. Too tall, too angular, almost human, but not human. Limbs bent wrong, heads tilted at impossible angles. I stepped back, leaves crunching beneath my shoes far too loudly, betraying every heartbeat. The fog seemed thicker here, sticking to my clothes, seeping into my lungs. Every instinct screamed at me to run, yet my legs felt anchored to the asphalt. A door creaked somewhere behind me. I spun. Nothing. Just the fog, the lane, and those impossible shadows inching closer. Every sense felt exaggerated. The metallic taste in my mouth, the chill pressing into my spine, the wet brush of leaves against my ankles. The lane itself seemed alive, breathing, watching. I realized my usual curiosity had become my undoing. Fear wasn't just fear anymore. It was a physical weight pressing on my chest. Each step toward the shadows made them seem to stretch taller, closer, as if the darkness itself was alive, testing me, teasing me. My mind raced. Maybe I could climb back into the car. Maybe I could scream for help. But the lane had other plans. Every exit I tried seemed to fold back into itself, leading me deeper, not out. I was trapped, and the lane was patient and hungry. My heart thundered. My curiosity had lured me here, and now I understood. Some things are not meant to be discovered. Some shadows are not meant to be chased. And the lane, well, it doesn't forgive. I stumbled forward, lungs burning, heart hammering against my ribs, and reached the end of Dead End Lane. A literal dead end, of course, but beyond it loomed a house that shouldn't exist. Dark, tall, impossibly crooked, like it had been stitched together from nightmares. The fog curled around its foundation like fingers, and the whispering rose to a chant, insistent, urgent, beckoning me closer. Shadows, too sharp, too fluid, spilled from a doorway that hadn't been there before, writhing like smoke with teeth. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but the lane had already erased my retreat. I could step blindly into the thick, suffocating fog, vanish into nothing, or I could step forward into that house and confront whatever was calling me. My feet moved before my mind caught up, drawn like iron to a magnet I didn't want to resist. The door groaned as I pushed it open, and I felt the chill strike my bones before I even crossed the threshold. Inside, the walls pulsed softly like the beat of a heart I couldn't escape. Shadows swirled along the edges, whispering secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I caught movement in a mirror near the foyer. I froze. It wasn't just me staring back. Not entirely. The reflection flickered, twisted like water disturbed by stones. A face nearly identical to mine grinned, but its eyes were hollow, hungry, knowing things I had buried deep, things I had never admitted even to myself. It leaned closer in the glass, whispering my name with a tone that made my bones ache. It knew me. It knew everything about me. My fears, my recklessness, my restless curiosity. And it wanted me. I wanted to run, to tear back into the lane and never look back. But the house seemed to breathe around me, walls contracting, shadows pressing closer. And then I realized, stepping back wasn't an option. Dead End Lane had chosen me. The shadows had chosen me. I exhaled, the sound a sharp rasp in the darkness, and stepped fully inside. The door slammed behind me. I was alone, or maybe I wasn't. Either way, the moment of confrontation had arrived, and there was no undoing it. My curiosity had trapped me, and now I had to face whatever awaited, whatever had been waiting all along. And for the first time, I understood the truth. Some doors, once opened, do not close again. I ran before I even realized I had made the decision. Every step felt heavier than the last, like the asphalt itself was gripping my shoes, pulling me back. Dead End Lane had changed while I was inside that house. The curves twisted impossibly, the shadows stretching and folding like smoke. Fog clung to my skin, thick and wet, carrying the whispers that slithered through my mind, repeating my name, teasing me, promising I wasn't done yet. I caught sight of my car ahead, doors wide open as if inviting me back, mocking me with familiarity. Relief and fear tangled in my chest. I lunged for the driver's side, slammed the door, and cranked the ignition. The engine roared to life, then gasped, sputtered, and died. My knuckles ached on the steering wheel, panic clawing at my throat. I forced myself to breathe, to push, to move forward anyway. There was no choice but motion, no escape but persistence. The lane stretched out endlessly, longer than memory dictated, curving and twisting like a living thing determined to keep me inside. Every shadow at the edge of the fog seemed to lean closer, every whisper growing softer but sharper, as if the lane itself were speaking to me, marking me. I dared a glance in the rearview mirror and froze. Something waited at the last bend, a shape, a gaze, something impossibly still yet alive, watching me leave, memorizing me. As the trees thinned and the fog began to lift, a hollow quiet settled in my chest. I had survived, or I thought I had, but the lane had imprinted itself onto me, like ink under the skin. My curiosity had led me here, and curiosity would never let me forget. Every rustle of leaves, every shadow in a corner, every flicker of light would carry a trace of that house, those whispers, that gaze. I drove on, streets returning to normal, signs familiar, yet Dead End Lane lingered behind me like a phantom limb. I was back in the ordinary world, but part of me stayed there, tangled in the pulse of that house and the eyes in the mirror. The story wasn't over, not really. Some doors, some shadows don't close completely. They wait patient for the next time curiosity drags you toward them. And I knew, deep down, that one day I'd return, whether I wanted to or not. Weeks later, I found myself telling friends about Dead End Lane, my voice tight, carrying the memory like a wound I couldn't show. You guys wouldn't believe it, I said, trying to laugh it off. There's this road, Dead End Lane. Houses abandoned, fog thick, shadows moving. They laughed, the kind of laugh that shrugs off fear as nonsense. Dead End Lane? Never heard of it, one said, shaking his head. I forced a smile, but my stomach twisted. Maybe they were right. Maybe it had all been in my head, or maybe it was still waiting, just beyond reach, patient, hungry for the next curious fool. Some nights, I swear I see it. Not in dreams, though those are bad enough, but when I drive home. A shadow flickers just the edge of my vision, vanishing when I try to focus. It knows me, knows my fear, my recklessness, my curiosity. Every time, my heart hammers the same rhythm it did that night, and I can't decide whether to curse it or thank it. It has changed me, altered the way I notice the world, the way I breathe, the way I move. Dead End Lane isn't just a road, it's a reminder. Curiosity can be a compass, yes, but it can also be a trap. I try to tell myself I'm wiser now. I hesitate at unknown paths, glance twice at empty streets, and yet deep down the pull remains. The lane left its mark, invisible but undeniable, threading through my thoughts, wrapping around my instincts. The story doesn't close neatly. It hangs like fog curling around the ankles of the unwary, like a warning that you feel too late. If you've been on the edge of your seat or felt that chill creeping down your spine, I want you to do one thing. Like this video, it helps our channel grow and reach more people who love stories like this. Don't forget to subscribe for daily content and share it with someone who can handle a little fear in their day. Thank you for watching, for listening, for letting me take you down Dead End Lane. There's another video waiting on your screen. Click it, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. But remember, some roads are better left unexplored. Treat for the lost. Have you ever walked home and felt like someone or something was walking behind you, but when you turned, there was nothing? That's exactly what happened to me last Halloween. I'm just an ordinary guy, mid-30s, desk job, boring life. My biggest dream, just to get through the night without embarrassing myself. My biggest fear, being completely alone, or worse, unnoticed. That night, though, I wasn't thinking about fear or dreams. I was thinking about candy, specifically, how I'd ration what I grabbed from the houses I passed. Because in my small town, Halloween was a meticulous operation, like banking, only sweeter. The streets were quiet. Narrow, cobblestone paths that looked innocent enough by daylight now glimmered under flickering street lamps. Halloween decorations twisted shadows into grotesque shapes that seemed almost alive. Jack-o'-lanterns grinned at me like they knew something I didn't. Every so often, a leaf skittered across the pavement, catching the light, sounding like tiny footsteps behind me. But the thing that set my nerves on edge? The houses with no lights, candy bowls untouched, the eerie stillness, and the wind. The wind carried whispers I couldn't place. I thought my imagination was playing tricks, but it wasn't just the wind. I felt the pause between my own steps, the silence of the empty street almost pressing against me. Something was off. Something didn't belong. I couldn't see it, couldn't name it, but it was there, just beyond the corner of my eye, moving with the rhythm of my heartbeat. And for the first time, I realized I was just walking home that night. I was being watched. It was subtle at first, like a shadow that flinched when you blinked. But my gut told me, whatever was out there, it wasn't Halloween candy that wanted me. I was walking to the last house on my street when I heard it, a small, deliberate laugh. Soft, childlike, but hollow. It didn't belong anywhere near the cozy little neighborhood I knew. I froze. The wind seemed to pause with me. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure dart behind a tree. Curiosity wrestled with fear. My feet moved before my brain could protest. I followed. With every step, the shadows twisted, the walls leaned closer. The familiar streets were alien now, like my town had slipped into a darker, crooked reflection of itself. The pumpkins didn't grin anymore, they sneered. The streetlights flickered like they were gasping. The figure was small, hooded, carrying a tattered bag that swayed as it moved. And every time I thought I was catching up, it vanished. Blink and nothing. Step forward and it was gone again. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it bouncing off the brick walls of empty houses. Then the noises started. A scraping metal sound that made me jump. Faint giggles echoing behind me. Then a sudden, suffocating silence. My pulse throbbed in my ears, louder than anything else. Doors I was sure were locked now sat slightly ajar. Windows reflected someone or something watching me, though when I spun around, the street remained empty. The tension wasn't just outside, it clawed inside me, twisting my confidence into a knot of fear and guilt. I realized I couldn't turn back. Pride, or maybe foolishness, drove me forward. I didn't want to be the guy who ran from a prank, the guy who let his imagination win. But with every step, the night seemed to press closer, swallowing me whole. I stumbled once, my hand brushing a cold wall. The figure appeared just ahead, small and silent, then vanished behind another corner. The wind whispered in my ears, a voice that wasn't a voice, promising things I couldn't understand. Every instinct screamed to run, yet my feet carried me onward. Something was pulling me deeper into the darkness, and I couldn't tell if it wanted me alive or lost. By the time I realized how far I'd gone, the warmth of my street, the safety of familiar windows, the smell of pumpkin spice, all gone. The town I thought I knew had become a maze. And the laughter, oh, the laughter never left. It followed me, a promise and a threat all at once. The hooded figure led me to the edge of town, where an abandoned house sat like a tooth in decay, boards nailed haphazardly across windows, the wind whistling through the gaps like it had secrets of its own. My pulse thundered in my ears as I approached. The figure stopped at the crooked door. It turned ever so slightly, as if granting me permission, and then slipped inside. I stepped through the threshold, and the door slammed behind me with a finality that made my stomach plummet. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. Then my eyes adjusted. Candy, piles of it, more than I had ever imagined. Mountains of sweets stacked against walls, spilling across the floor. But there was something else, something wrong. Photographs. Hundreds of them, pinned to the walls, tacked to every available surface. Faces frozen in smiles. Faces I knew. People from my town. People missing. People who had vanished without a trace. And then I saw the pattern. The figure, the small hooded thing, was a collector. Every child, every unsuspecting wanderer alone at night, drawn in like I had been. My heart hammered so violently it felt like it might break my ribs. The air grew thick, almost tangible, pulsing with a cold, unnatural expectation. I could feel the figure's gaze on me, though it remained hidden beneath the hood, unmoving, patient. I wanted to run. I could hear my own voice screaming, "Get out! Don't think! Don't stay!" But my feet wouldn't obey. My eyes roamed the room, drawn to every photo, every candy pile, every shadow that flickered in corners. The creature wasn't just feeding on sugar, it was feeding on curiosity, on fear, on the very essence of people like me. And then it moved, slowly, deliberately gliding closer. My mind raced. Could I confront it? Could I escape? Could I even survive the night if I did nothing? There was no turning back now. Every instinct screamed to flee, but my curiosity, my damn pride, chained me to the spot. I had a choice: run into the night, leaving the truth buried behind these rotting walls, or step forward and face whatever this thing was, knowing that one wrong move might mean I joined the others on those walls. The room waited, and the figure waited, and the night closed its teeth around me. I didn't think. I just ran. Shoving past the hooded figure, I felt the shadow stretch toward me like reaching fingers, clawing at my jacket, trying to pull me back. My heart pounded, my lungs burned, but I didn't slow. I tripped on the cracked sidewalk, sprawling forward. For a terrifying instant, I swore the candy, the endless piles of shiny wrappers, reached out for me as if they were alive, trying to drag me back into that room. My fingers scraped the pavement, and then, just like that, I broke free. I stumbled into the dimly lit street, gasping for air, every inhale tasting like autumn and fear. When I looked back, the figure was gone. The house sat quietly at the edge of town, abandoned and ordinary, boards nailed across the windows, nothing more than an old shell. The horrors that had filled it just moments ago seemed like a cruel hallucination, a trick my mind had played. But I knew better. I had seen the photographs, felt the presence that had followed me. The adrenaline faded slowly, leaving a hollow ache in my chest. I walked the rest of the way home in silence, each step heavy, as if the night itself was weighing on me. I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see that hooded figure waiting just beyond the streetlight. And the photographs, they lingered in my mind. Faces frozen in smiles, eyes staring into nothing, into the void that now felt dangerously close. I couldn't shake the thought that one day, if I let my guard down, I might find my own face pinned among them, a warning to anyone who dared follow curiosity too far. The streets were empty. The wind carried no whispers, and yet the memory of that night clung to me like a second skin. I knew the world had shifted somewhere in the shadows, and even in the ordinary, there were corners I would never tread again. I made it home, but safety felt fragile, temporary. Halloween had ended, but the sense of being watched, of being remembered by something that thrived in the dark, had only begun. Made it home, but I could feel it, the subtle presence that had slipped past me, threading itself into my shadow. An itch behind my skull that no scratching could ease, a flicker in my peripheral vision that vanished when I tried to focus. The night wasn't over. It never really ends. I sat in my room, heart still hammering, trying to convince myself it was just adrenaline, just imagination. But deep down, I knew better. The town felt different now, like it had secrets stitched into every brick and every corner. Something had followed me home, something patient, something that thrived on curiosity and fear alike. And here's the thing. Halloween comes every year. Every year, some of us get lost. Some of us don't make it back. Maybe you've walked a quiet street at night, felt that fleeting chill of being watched and brushed it off. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe the small laugh behind you, the shadow that lingers just out of sight, is waiting for the next curious soul. So next time you hear footsteps behind you, or a soft laugh in the dark, maybe don't look. Maybe just keep walking. That's what I did. And for now, I'm still here. But for how long? If you enjoyed this story and want to keep the chills coming, make sure to like this video. It really helps our channel grow and reach more curious minds like yours. Don't forget to subscribe for daily content and share this video with someone who loves a good scare. There's another spine-tingling story waiting for you on your screen, so check it out. Thank you for watching, for listening, for stepping into the shadows with me tonight. I'll see you back here tomorrow. And remember, some footsteps aren't just in your mind. Midnight Candy. I never thought a single candy bar could ruin a night. But then again, I never thought I'd be running through the streets at midnight with someone or something watching me. I'm Alex, 28, a guy who likes his routine almost as much as he likes his sweets. I work the late night shift at Grover's convenience store, which is to say I spend my hours between dusty shelves and flickering fluorescent lights, ringing up the occasional neighborhood drifter or wide-eyed teen. My life is predictable, quiet, maybe even a little dull, but I liked it that way. Safe, controlled, or so I thought. The town I live in is small, the kind of place where everyone nods at everyone else, even if they don't actually know your name. Tonight, the streets glistened from a sudden rain. Lamps cast long, wavering shadows that seemed almost alive. The air smelled of wet asphalt, faint pine, and the smoke of some distant, unremembered fire. It was the sort of night that feels like a whisper of things you'd rather not think about, but curiosity has a way of sneaking up on you. That night, the bell above the store door jingled like usual, and I half smiled at the rhythm of it, the familiarity. And then the chill crept in, a deep, almost sentient sort of cold that made the hairs on my neck bristle. Something wasn't right. I turned toward the doorframe, and my eyes caught the flyer. Midnight Candy, tonight only. No address, no explanation. Just those words, glowing under the flickering neon like they'd been waiting for me. My stomach twisted, half with curiosity, half with instinctive fear. A single candy bar? What could possibly go wrong? And yet, the air pressed in closer, heavier, as if the town itself was holding its breath. I didn't know it yet, but stepping outside that store would be the first mistake of the night. And mistakes, as I would soon learn, have a way of sticking to you, like sugar on your fingers, or worse. Curiosity won over caution. I stuffed the flyer into my pocket and stepped out into the wet night, my breath fogging in the streetlight. At first, it was just the usual sounds, the distant hum of traffic, the soft patter of rain on asphalt. But soon the shadows began to stretch, bend, and slither in ways that made my stomach knot. Then I saw it, a figure standing in the middle of the deserted street, wearing a carnival mask that gleamed wet under the lamplight. In their hands, a basket overflowed with candy. The scent hit me first, sugar, chocolate, something sticky and warm, tugging at a memory I didn't want to recall. They raised a gloved hand, beckoning me forward, and despite every rational thought screaming, "Run!" my feet moved. I took a step, then another. Every time I tried to look away, they slipped just out of reach, melting into alleys or corners that shouldn't exist. The town's streets, familiar in daylight, were twisting around me like a funhouse mirror. My heartbeat thumped in my ears as I dodged puddles and glanced over my shoulder. Footsteps? Whispered laughter? The night swallowed the sound before it reached me. A flicker of streetlight made me jump. Then another, and I saw the tug at my backpack, sharp, insistent. I spun around, heart hammering, but the street was empty. My hands shook, my chest heaving. Every instinct screamed danger, but the candy, the sweet, familiar pull of it, kept me moving. I felt like a moth circling a flame that might burn me alive. Then came the alleys that didn't exist yesterday. Sharp turns and dead ends that warped the town into something unrecognizable. I tried to retrace my steps, to get back to the comforting glow of the convenience store, but the map in my mind refused to line up. The rain-slicked streets gleamed like mirrors, reflecting a world that felt almost wrong. Shadows pressed in from every corner, stretching, twisting, alive. And always ahead of me, the masked figure, patient, silent, and grinning under that porcelain carnival mask, leading me somewhere I did not want to go, but could not stop myself from following. The night had changed, and I was running not just from the unknown, but toward it, dragged by a single, simple candy bar that promised nostalgia and danger in equal measure. The rain had stopped, but the air felt heavier, as if the night itself were holding its breath. I followed the masked figure through a corridor of rusted fences and overgrown weeds until I saw it, the old fairground, the one that had been shut down years ago after the fire. The gate stood open now, creaking slightly, like a mouth waiting to swallow. Every instinct told me to turn around, but I stepped through anyway. The ground crunched beneath my shoes. Glass, gravel, maybe bones, and the air shimmered faintly, humming with static. The carousel horses were blackened, their painted eyes melted into warped grins, and in the center of it all stood the masked figure, basket in hand. Only one piece of candy remained. It glowed faintly, red and gold, pulsing like a heartbeat. "You shouldn't have come alone," the figure said. The voice was low, familiar, too familiar. I froze, my tongue went dry. It was the voice of someone I knew, someone who shouldn't have been here. My brother, Daniel, dead for 5 years. "Danny?" I whispered. He tilted his head, the mask cracking just enough for me to see the curve of his smile. Half memory, half nightmare. "It's sweet, isn't it? You remember the taste." My mind flashed back. Halloween night, years ago, when he'd handed me a piece of candy that made me sick for days. Mom said it was spoiled. But Danny just laughed. The realization hit like a hammer. This candy wasn't a treat. It was a lure, a curse, a debt unpaid. He stepped closer, the candy's glow reflecting in his mask. "You wanted to know what it feels like, right? To taste the past?" My breath shook. I could run. I could turn back and forget this ever happened. But I knew I wouldn't sleep until I knew what the candy really was. Curiosity, the same poison that killed cats and men alike, won again. I snatched it from his hand. The world convulsed. The air shattered like glass. The fairground twisted into a blur of color and sound. Laughter, screams, carnival music melting into static. Shadows tore themselves from the ground, each one whispering my name. I was surrounded. My chest pounded so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Daniel, or whatever wore his face, was gone. And all that was left was the taste of the candy, sickly sweet, burning cold, melting on my tongue. I took one step forward, knowing it would change everything, or end it. I woke up face down in the wet grass at the edge of town, my breath coming in short, ragged bursts. Dawn was leaking through the mist, turning everything pale and hollow. My backpack was gone. My phone, my wallet, gone too. All I had were the shredded remnants of that damned flyer, clenched in my fist like proof of a dream I couldn't wake from. The world felt quieter than it should have been. No cars, no birds, just the hum of the power lines above me and the faint ringing in my ears. My mouth tasted strange, sweets then metallic like blood laced with sugar. I spat, but the taste stayed. It lingered. By the time I stumbled into town, the world had already moved on. The streets looked the same, the store lights flickered the same old man walked his dog by the post office. Normal, completely normal. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd stepped out of sync with it all, like I was watching the town through a glass pane that only I could see. I went to the diner. The same waitress poured my coffee, the same bell rang when the door opened, the same people sat in the same booths gossiping about nothing. When I tried to tell them what happened, about the fairground, the mask, the candy, no one even paused to listen. "You probably dreamed it," she said, smiling kindly, as if that fixed everything. "You've been working too many late shifts, hon." but I know what I felt. I know what I tasted. Every time I blink, I see flashes of the fairground, the twisted carousel, the hollow laughter, the glint of that mask in the dark. And sometimes when I walk home at night, I hear it again, the faint jingle of carnival music carried on the wind, the kind that makes your stomach twist because it's too familiar. Last night, I found something on the counter at Grover's, a wrapper, glossy, gold and red, the same brand that never existed before. It wasn't there when I locked up. Someone or something had left it there. And when I looked closer, I could still smell it. Sweet, tempting, the faintest hint of smoke underneath. Midnight candy. Weeks later, I find myself walking past Grover's convenience store again. The evening is quiet, the sky brews purple with sunset. My steps falter as a flicker of movement catches my eye. A new flyer, pinned carelessly to the door, flutters in the wind. Bold letters glare up at me. Midnight candy, tonight only. My stomach twists, my pulse races, not with excitement, but with the memory of wet streets, twisted shadows, and that mask. Weeks have passed, but the metallic sweet taste still lingers at the back of my throat, a reminder that some things don't just disappear. I pause, hand hovering, half expecting it to vanish, half expecting something else. The town around me continues in its ordinary rhythm. Cars hum by, lights flicker in apartments, but I feel a weight pressing just behind my eyes, a tug at my sleeve that isn't really there. My curiosity, once a simple itch for chocolate and nostalgia, now feels like a warning. The lesson is clear, though I'm not sure I'll ever fully heed it. Curiosity is sweet. Danger is sweeter. And sometimes the candy you chase isn't a treat. It's the thing that wants to chase you. I take a step back and keep walking, but the flyer flutters again in the wind. The edges curl like the grin of a carnival mask I'll never forget. I can't shake the thought, the question that claws at me in the silence of my apartment later that night when the lights are low and the streets are empty. Would you take it if it called your name? If this story made your skin crawl, your pulse race, or even just lingered in your mind for a moment, make sure to hit like. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe for daily content that keeps you on the edge, and share this video with someone who loves a good thrill. Thanks for listening, for watching, and for daring to step into the shadows with me tonight. There's another story waiting for you on your screen, a new adventure you won't want to miss. I'll see you back here tomorrow, if you dare.